You just hung up the phone with a friend from the South, and for some reason you were throwing around y'all with a noticeable drawl. 10 minutes later, you are talking to a hyperactive coworker, and suddenly you are speaking a mile a minute, entirely matching their chaotic energy. Then you get to your car, the door shuts, the silence hits, and you have this sudden sinking realization, who even am I? If you have ever caught yourself shape-shifting like this and felt a sharp wave of guilt, terrified that you are just being fake or trying too hard to fit in, I need you to stop right now. You are not a fraud, and your brain is not broken. It is actually executing an incredibly sophisticated survival mechanism, powered by a highly sensitive neurological radar system. Let's be brutally honest about how this feels. When you catch yourself doing this, it doesn't feel like a fun social skill. It feels like you are wearing a mask and you are terrified that one day someone is going to pull it off and find absolutely nothing underneath. You walk away from a party, a networking event, or even just a casual coffee date, and instead of feeling connected, you feel exhausted. Your inner voice starts screaming, "Why did I laugh at that joke when it wasn't even funny?" Or, "Why did I agree with their opinion on that movie when I actually hated it?" You label yourself a social chameleon, but not in a complimentary way. You feel like a fraud. You worry that you lack a genuine core personality and that you are constantly shapeshifting just to make everyone else in the room comfortable, completely sacrificing your own identity in the process. It is a very specific type of imposter syndrome. You are not just worried about being an imposter at your job. You feel like an imposter in your own life. You look in the mirror and genuinely wonder if your entire personality is just an amalgamation of the last 5 people you spoke to. This constant self-monitoring, this relentless pressure to calibrate your energy to match the room, it drains the life out of you. You think there is something fundamentally wrong with your character, a weakness that prevents you from simply being yourself. But what if I told you that this has absolutely nothing to do with being weak and everything to do with how your brain processes social data? If you think this is just a self-esteem issue, wait until you hear what is actually happening behind your forehead. What you are experiencing isn't you being fake. Being fake requires premeditation. It requires you to sit down and consciously plot, I am going to act exactly like this person so they will like me. But you aren't doing that, are you? It just happens. And it happens because you're experiencing a thoroughly documented involuntary neurological phenomenon known as the Chameleon Effect. To understand why you do this, we have to look at a fascinating group of cells in your brain called mirror neurons. Discovered by neuroscientists in the 1990s, mirror neurons are essentially the brain's built-in hardware for empathy and imitation. And they are entirely unique because they fire not only when you perform an action yourself, but also when you simply observe someone else performing that exact same action. If you see someone sharply stub their toe, your mirror neurons light up in the very same pain regions of your brain, as if you had just stubbed your own toe. Now, I want you to imagine your brain as a highly advanced Wi-Fi receiver. Most people out there have a pretty standard receiver. They pick up the general surface level signal of a conversation, which is just the basic words being said. But your brain has an industrial grade, highly sensitive antenna. You are not just picking up their words, you are downloading the entire encrypted emotional package. When the person sitting across from you shifts their weight or leans in, your mirror neurons fire, subtly commanding your own muscles to do the exact same thing. When their vocal tone drops or when their speech suddenly speeds up, your auditory cortex processes that specific rhythm and instinctively calibrates your own vocal cords to match that exact frequency. The chameleon effect is this non-conscious automatic mimicry of postures, mannerisms, facial expressions, and speech patterns. Your brain is literally mirroring the environment in real time, and this process completely bypasses your conscious, logical mind. So, when you walk away from a conversation feeling exhausted and thinking you just put on a theatrical performance, you are brutally misjudging yourself. You didn't put on a show. Your nervous system simply reacted to the immense amount of social data it was receiving, mapping the other person's physical and vocal behavior onto your own body to create a synchronized loop. But why does your brain do this so intensely? Why is your biological Wi-Fi receiver turned up so much higher than the average person's? Well, if you think this is just a quirky neurological glitch, you need to understand the primal survival mechanism that is actually running the show. To make sense of this, we have to travel back a few 100,000 years to the very origins of human interaction. From a strict evolutionary standpoint, human beings are deeply vulnerable pack animals. Our survival literally depended on our ability to stay integrated within the tribe. If you were perceived as an outsider, a threat, or just slightly too different from the group, you risked being ostracized. And in the wild, being alone was practically a guaranteed death sentence. So, to prevent this, the human brain developed a brilliant, entirely unconscious strategy to signal safety and build immediate trust: mirroring. When you subconsciously adopt someone's posture, their accent, or their specific way of speaking, you are transmitting a primal silent message straight to their amygdala. You are telling their nervous system, look at me, I am just like you. We belong to the exact same tribe. You are completely safe with me, and I am safe with you. It is the ultimate biological icebreaker. Psychologists refer to this as building rapport, and it is a fundamental social glue that holds all human communities together. Now, everyone does this to some extent. It is a baseline human function. But here is the critical difference for you. If you identify as a highly sensitive person, empath, or someone who scores exceptionally high in what personality psychologists call trait agreeableness, your evolutionary alarm system is wired completely differently. You don't just prefer peace, your nervous system actively demands harmony in order to function properly. Social conflict, awkwardness, or even mild disapproval doesn't just feel slightly uncomfortable for you. It registers in your body as a legitimate physical threat. Because your brain is hypervigilant to the most subtle shifts in the emotional environment, it takes that baseline mirroring system and cranks the volume up to the absolute maximum. You are essentially performing a rapid microscopic psychological scan of the person standing in front of you. You are assessing their hidden needs, their current emotional state, and their preferred communication style in a fraction of a single second. Then your brain seamlessly and automatically adjusts your own output to perfectly complement theirs. You become loud and expressive with the energetic person to validate them and show them their energy is welcome here. You become soft-spoken and gentle with the quiet person so you do not overwhelm their delicate nervous system. You are proactively creating a perfectly synchronized, friction-free environment because that is exactly where your own brain feels the safest. You are neutralizing potential threats with pure empathy. This is not a lack of a core personality. It is a highly advanced evolutionary defense mechanism operating at a genius level of emotional intelligence. But this is where the story gets even more fascinating, because you are not just blindly copying their physical moves or their regional slang. What your brain is actually doing behind the scenes goes way beyond a simple game of follow the leader. When you sit across from someone, you're not merely listening to the words tumbling out of their mouth. Your brain is engaging in a deeply complex physiological process known as somatic mapping. You see, those mirror neurons we talked about earlier, they do not just control your facial muscles, your posture, or the pitch of your vocal cords. They are directly wired into your insula and your amygdala, the core emotional processing centers of your brain. So when your friend is intensely frustrated about their day, your brain doesn't just logically understand that they are mad. It actually recreates a microdose of that exact frustration within your own body. Your heart rate might subtly elevate to match their rhythm. Your breathing might become shallower. Your cortisol levels might even spike. You are quite literally experiencing their vibe on a tangible, physical level. It is as if your nervous system reaches across the table, plugs a cord directly into theirs, and downloads their current emotional state so that you can process it together. This is the profound, beautiful difference between cognitive empathy, which is simply understanding someone's perspective from a distance, and affective empathy, which is physically feeling their reality in your own bones. For highly sensitive individuals and empaths, this affective empathy is basically your default operating system. You absorb the atmospheric pressure of the room the second you walk in. If the environment is tense, your own muscles automatically tense up in response. If the person you are talking to is giddy and vibrating with excitement, your brain immediately floods your own system with matching dopamine to meet them where they are. You temporarily become them, just for a moment, to truly and deeply understand them. But this incredible superhuman ability comes with a very real, very significant metabolic cost. Processing two entire nervous systems at the exact same time yours and theirs requires an immense amount of cognitive energy. Imagine your brain as a smartphone. While everyone else is just sending a simple text message, your brain is running a massive, high-definition background application that is rapidly draining your battery. This is precisely why you can leave a simple 1-hour coffee date feeling like you just ran a mental and emotional marathon. Your body physically did the exhausting work of carrying their emotions. And it is also exactly why when you finally get alone in your car or your bedroom and that biological Wi-Fi disconnects, you completely crash. The sudden absence of their powerful signal leaves you in this quiet, confusing void, looking around and wondering where their energy ended and where your actual personality begins. That boundary blur is what makes you feel like a fraud. It is terrifying. But the truth about this invisible boundary is going to completely change the way you see yourself. So, Let us completely dismantle this lie you have been telling yourself. The lie that says because you adapt, you somehow lack a core identity. I want you to think about water for a second. When you pour water into a tall, narrow glass, it takes the shape of that glass. When you pour it into a wide, shallow bowl, it instantly becomes wide and shallow. Does that mean the water is fake? Does that mean the water is no substance of its own? Of course not. It simply means that it is fluid, adaptable, and incredibly responsive to its environment. Your personality is not missing. It is fluid. The reason you feel like a social chameleon isn't because you are empty inside. It is because your absolute superpower is profound cognitive and affective empathy. Let us reframe how society has taught you to look at this. We are often told that a strong personality is someone who walks into a room and aggressively forces everyone else to adapt to their vibe. We are taught to admire the person who is loud, unchanging, and unapologetically rigid, taking up all the oxygen in the space. And neurobiologically speaking, that kind of rigidity is not a strength. It is a severe limitation. A rigid brain cannot accurately read the room. A rigid brain cannot build immediate, deeply felt rapport with a stranger or make a highly anxious person feel instantly safe. Your brain, on the other hand, possesses the highest possible form of social intelligence. You are not a blank canvas waiting to be painted by other people's expectations. You are a highly sophisticated, real-time, emotional translator. When you mirror someone's southern drawl or match their chaotic, hyperactive energy, you are not erasing who you are. You are simply choosing the exact right tool from your vast psychological toolkit to build a bridge. You are subconsciously saying, I see you, and I'm going to broadcast on your specific frequency so that you do not feel alone in this room right now. You are quite literally a safe harbor for the human nervous system. People absolutely love talking to you. They might not consciously know why, but they always walk away from you feeling profoundly seen, validated, and understood. And that is because your brain is physically, structurally designed to give them exactly what they need in that moment. You're not losing yourself when you mirror someone. You are actively expanding yourself to temporarily hold their reality alongside your own. This is not a personality flaw or a sign of weakness. It is a premium, top-tier feature of a beautifully complex, highly evolved brain. So the next time you leave a conversation and that harsh, critical voice inside your head tries to tell you that you are just being fake or that you are some kind of empty vessel desperately seeking approval, I want you to take a deep breath and tell that voice to be quiet. You do not need to apologize for the way your nervous system fundamentally operates. You do not need to feel guilty for being the person who subconsciously makes sure everyone else in the room feels safe and heard. It is time to let go of this exhausting self-imposed pressure to find a single, rigid, unchanging version of yourself to present to the world. The real you is not a static block of stone that refuses to move. The real you is the bridge. You are the profound, living connection point between incredibly diverse human experiences. You are fluent in the unspoken language of human connection, a language that most people spend their entire lives trying to learn but never truly master. Your core personality is empathy. Your true identity is the warmth and the safety that you offer to the people around you, even when you do not realize you are doing it. It is perfectly okay if you're loud with your loud friends and exceptionally quiet with your quiet ones. It is beautifully normal if your accent shifts or your energy drops or your vocabulary suddenly changes depending on who is sitting across the table from you. That does not make you an imposter in your own life. It makes you a sanctuary. You are a highly tuned instrument capable of playing whatever melody the moment requires so that the person next to you doesn't have to sing alone. So please stop trying to force yourself into a tiny, rigid box just to satisfy a society that does not understand the depth of your neurological gift. Be the water. Embrace the fluidity. So, are you a social chameleon? I hope you now realize that is a title you should wear with absolute pride. If this video finally helped you understand why you do the things you do, and if it just put a name to a part of you that you have been hiding, hit that subscribe button. We have a lot more of your beautiful mind to decode together, and this channel is a safe place for us to understand ourselves better. You are not alone, and you are exactly who you are supposed to be. I will see you in the next one.